for talking with us today, John.
No problem. No worries. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to being involved and hopefully shed some light on what us gamers consider a sport and whether or not we think we should be taken seriously. I think I think we've actually got like a time restraint on this, otherwise I'll rant on for too long about the do's and don'ts. But no, yeah, I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So let's just get started with the question of the night. What are your opinions on the idea of esports being a sport, and even to add on further that, should the players be considered athletes?
Yeah, look, I'm very pro esports is a sport. I think if you look at sort of the definition of a sport and the competitive nature of what sports is, I think it goes hand in hand with what esports is all about. I know the immediate argument that a lot of people will have is, but you guys are just gamers, you're not physically doing anything. But if you look at the more scientific aspect behind it in terms of reaction speeds, hand-eye coordination, all that jazz, it's on par, if not higher than most, quote unquote traditional modern athletes. So no, definitely, I think 100% that esports should be considered a sport. And I think esports athletes should be considered athletes at the end of the day as well.
Yep, I absolutely agree myself. I think especially when you see chess is considered a sport.
Yeah. I mean, look. I'm a huge fan for like including every sort of competitive aspect into being sport if there's a fan base behind it and it warrants the right amount of exposure. But you look at the likes of chess, for example, that's a sport. Myself, I play a lot of darts and I play a lot of snooker and pool. They're considered sports as well, and they're not the most physically demanding. Okay, albeit you're standing there throwing a dart at a dartboard for a while and you're constantly doing the same action with your elbow and wrist while playing snooker or pool. But I would say the level of concentration, the level of mental fatigue, and the level of conditioning for those kind of sports are probably the same, if not lesser, than the likes of an esports athlete, because you only have a millisecond to respond between whether or not you die or whether you get a kill, and the micro adjustments and stuff like that. It's just I don't think a lot of people that aren't involved in esports realize just how hard it is to be a professional player.
Yep. And we've actually recently seen some recognition for esports. While it may not have been the best, because the Olympics came out, proposed their esports series.
Yeah.
Great in terms of showcasing that esports should be considered a sport. However, there's a lot of criticism over which games were chosen. So what are your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was so excited when I saw the esports Olympic announcement on my phone, because obviously, on like Twitter, you can only see like the first line, right? So it was like official esports Olympic announcement, and I was like, oh my god, yes, finally. And then I click on it and it's like virtual archery and okay, like I don't want to like sort of talk down on like the whole just dance esports scene, but like dancing and stuff like that. But them kind of things, then when you think of esports, they're not the things that come to your mind, right? If you think of esports, you think of League of Legends, you think of CSGO, you think of Valorant, you think of the likes of FIFA, which I thought you would have had like a more natural crossover with the likes of natural traditional football as well, or it's just it was so poorly done in my opinion. Like, one thing that esports has been crying out for is exposure on an international level, to get brands and to get people to recognize us globally and outside of our actual community and industry. And this was a perfect time, especially with the likes of Counter-Strike, for example, which is in such a thriving time right now. Valorant, which has just announced cross-regional circuits, which again you would think would link to the whole Olympic, country v country, region v region aspect of things. There were so many games perfectly poised to be involved in the esports Olympics, but I think the event organizers look back on it and think, okay, we've really mucked up here. But the main thing is it's a start, right? It's a step forward. It's been something that has been rumored to be happening since like 2015, 2016. So the fact that it's happened, I'm really glad for. I just wish that they involved more esports people and esports community and committee members into the actual discussions about what should be involved in it and what shouldn't. But hey ho, the likes of CS:GO, Valorant, these FPS games, they have like 18 plus ratings, so maybe they didn't seem, or 16 plus ratings, they might not have deemed it very family friendly for the viewership and target audience for the Olympics.
So kind of want to talk to you about getting into casting and being an analyst. Because I feel like when people look at esports or just getting into gaming and they're looking at it, they kind of want to see, how do we make this their job? They want to turn their passion into a job. And when it comes to being a player, it's very hard, but it's quite a clear path, because you play the game, you get better, you get to certain ranks, maybe you start playing together on maybe a smaller team, and you can kind of work up the ranks there. But when people look at casting or trying to get on an analyst desk, it's very hard. There's not a direct path to get there. So just kind of wondering how you got into casting, and then what your path to get there was.
Yeah, for sure. So I got into casting. Oh, this make me sound old. I'm only 24. I promise I'm not that old. I think I got into casting around at the age of about 16. So about 8 or 9 years now. It'll be back in 2013, 2014, roughly, if my maths are correct. And I got into casting because I was sort of like a somewhat semi-professional Call of Duty player. I was pretty good at the game, but I just didn't have what it took to go pro, and I think that's one thing that is my biggest piece of advice, is being like a realist and realizing just how hard it is to be a pro player, and don't be afraid to give up on it and try and have different avenues in the industry. So yeah, I just couldn't see myself committing to like 8 hours of practice a day. Like I just couldn't do it. I was still in school, I was still studying. So I thought, okay, cool, like I want to still be involved in esports because I loved competitive video games. I had a passion for playing video games. So I thought, how can I stay somewhat relevant in the industry and still be involved in it? And I'm a huge football fan. I'm a huge boxing fan. I'm a huge sport fan in general. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I always used to do these like funny little videos of pretending to commentate like match of the day or like match choice on Sky Sports or something like that. And I thought, okay, cool. Like, why don't I try the commentary aspect? And a friend of mine goes by the name Silverback, was one of the like original UK Call of Duty casters. Hit me up and was like, "Hey man, I've just seen that you stopped competing. Let me know if you want to have a shot at doing some commentary, because you're like a super hyped personality and like I love your energy in games." Because I was always one of those players that would be screaming trash talk at the other team, which I don't encourage now from a more professional point of view. But he was always animated. I think you'd make a great caster. So I just started out casting some random online smaller tournaments that he helped me get involved in, like these small Twitter tournaments that had like free entry prizes. I didn't get paid for anything. I didn't actually get paid for the first about 18 months of commentary work I actually did. So yeah, I just sort of worked my way up through there, commentated a few Twitter tournaments, and then I got put into some like bigger actual named leagues tournaments through Call of Duty. Never quite made it in Call of Duty. I felt like I deserved a shot at getting to like the CWL which was at the time, but I never had the chance to. Just things didn't work out for me. So then I moved over to a game called H1Z1, which was, in my opinion, the best battle royale ever made. And no battle royale will come close to prime H1Z1 ever. And I made a real name for myself in H1Z1. I was familiar amongst the pro scene. I used to work for a tournament organizer called Champions Arena, and I did a little bit of H1Z1 European League as well. And I was familiar with quite a few of the pros. Started streaming, sort of building myself as like a bit of a brand, you could say. And again, I unfortunately missed out on the H1Z1 Pro League to other casters, which I thought I was in with a really good shot, because there were like rumors going around of me being on trial broadcasts that we had good feedback on. But I didn't give up from H1Z1. I kept being involved in H1Z1, and that's when the likes of CS:GO and Valorant and Fortnite started to take my interest. I switched over to Fortnite. I became like a really big Fortnite streamer. I've now got like 20,000 followers on Twitch as well for when I make content. Got involved in a lot of broadcasts for like some big actual teams and organizations for the Fortnite World Cup broadcasts. Then got offered to do some other work in the likes of Valorant. I got offered to be a Valorant partner, which I jumped at the opportunity to do because I think it's a great game. Did a lot of events for the smaller circuit in Valorant, and then I've got picked up by the likes of ESL for CS:GO. I've done some of the ESL contenders Challenger League. Sorry. Did IEM full in 2021 as the NA last chance tiebreakers. So yeah, I kind of really started my way down the pecking order, and you just work your way up, and it's a grind, man. It really is a grind, but it's something that I'm glad I did because it's obviously put me in a position where I am now. So
yeah. So we just wanted to move on and talk about because I feel like a lot of people, because I'm hoping some people who listen to this are going to be kind of outside the esports space. So we just want to talk about the difference in casters. So they're often divided into two types. We've got the shoutcaster and the color caster.
yeah.
So for people who don't know, how would you define and kind of like explain the differences between them, and also where would you place in the two?
I hate the term color caster and play by play. I hate it so much. I have quite strict opinions on this, and a lot of people don't agree with me. But I think if you're a caster, you should be able to flex between both roles. Because the one thing I hate is when I watch a broadcast and I'm seeing what is the. Let me take a step back. Actually, I'll explain both roles first. So the play-by-play commentator is someone who literally commentates what is happening live on the stream as it is happening when it's getting a bit crazy, when people are fighting each other all over the place, and they're actually talking you through live what's happening as the game is going on. And then we have the color commentator, which is more of like an analyst role, where say a massive team fight in League of Legends or in Valorant has just happened. They then break down and dissect and analyze why they did this, what went right there, how could they have done differently. So those are the two different roles that we have, but I'm a strict believer that you should be able to flex between both. I can't stand it when color casters are doing an analysis bit and then like a big team fight kicks off and then they just stop midpoint and then the play-by-play caster takes over. It just, the flow doesn't feel right for me. Anytime I work with someone, and this kind of links into your other question about where I fit in the role. They say to me, "Hey man, what do you want to do? Do you want to be a play-by-play or an analyst?" I'm like, "Yo, let's just flex." Like I say, let's flex it because it vibes better. The dynamic is nicer. Obviously, not everybody has the capability to play-by-play cast, and not everybody has the ability to color cast because they're two very unique and quite different roles. But I feel like they can merge into one quite well. To be a play-by-play caster, you have to be quite quick-witted and quick thinking about making up puns on the spot, linking, your game knowledge to potential like future references that might happen in the game quite quickly. You need to have quite a good understanding of the game to list off abilities or to list off potential strategical plays that are happening live as they're happening and predict them ahead of time. And for the color commentator who does a more analysis role, you have to have a really, I hate to use the word big brain, but you do, because you have to be able to break down everything to the most minute detail. But yeah, I would really encourage anyone that's getting into casting to try and flex between the both, because not only that, you open up yourself to so much more work as well. The amount of time people have come to me and said, "Hey, do you play by play or cast?" And I said, "Well, I can flex. Like, who are you working with?" Like, and they're like, "Well, we've got someone that's really strictly play by play and they don't want to do analysis work." And I'm like, "Cool, I can do that." I've had people say to me that this guy just can't commentate, super quickly. They don't know how to think on their feet, but they're really good at analysis. Cool, I'll run the play-by-play side of things. So yeah, never limit yourself, I would say, because you can open up and you can close so many doors rather by just being stuck into one role.
Yeah, that's perfect. So after that, we just want to look at specifically Valorant.
Yeah.
This is kind of the game that you're working in now. And we wanted to look at the VCT circuit just getting underway. The franchise leagues are starting. We're waiting on the Americas League starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
So just with it getting underway in the inaugural season, which team do you think is going to top each region, and why? Like, what's your explanation for it?
That's a tough one, I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually gonna put up the list of teams on my other screen quickly while I look through, because there are so many teams that just go completely under the radar. I think at the moment for the Americas League, I think Loud look really, really good. they seem to be pretty damn decent at the moment. Obviously, coming off the back of some decent performances as well. I was actually watching KRU play yesterday, and they impressed me quite a bit. So I think I'm gonna go loud for Americas. For EMEA is hard, man. It really is. EMEA is a super hard one. Naturally, I want to say Fnatic because they just come off the back of the lock-in win out in Brazil. But I think Na'Vi have got a decent roster. Liquid, I think Liquid need to make a few team changes later on into the year. I just don't think their roster is as good as it can be. Giants look okay. Soda Foots. I'm gonna stick with Fnatic because I think they're gonna have the momentum off the back of lock-in. For EMEA and for Pacific, you've got me here. I try to keep up with Pacific as much as possible, but we was actually having this conversation before we started recording. The game times are so hard to keep up with because I'll either be working during the time it's going on, or sometimes I'll just literally be asleep because they start at like 5 or 6 a.m. I've really drawn a blank on Pacific. I couldn't tell you. It's probably the one region I've actually neglected watching, but I would say one name that stands out probably is DRX. I think DRX are pretty decent at times. If not, probably maybe T1.
Oof. I'm a Cloud9 fan, so I'm rooting for T1. I got Zeta, the ex Cloud.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? It's hard to pick. One thing I love about the Valorant Regional League is that it's made Valorant so much more competitive across the board. And I feel like there were so many times where there was one team clearly on top, but now these regional leagues, the franchising, it's really helped, in my opinion, sort of make it a bit more of a tighter standing.
Yeah. So next up, we wanted to test your eye for players to see if you can guess my rank from 3 clips of me.
Sure.
Just want to see if you can like talk us through your thought process throughout each one, and then at the end of them, we'll just see your final verdict as to where you think I place in ranked, and hopefully,
all right.
I don't get it.
I apologize if I get it wrong in advance. I'm going to start off by watching the fracture clip, if that's okay. So I'm going to pull that open right now. So if you just let me know when you want me to play it, I'll hit play on it. Or if you want me to hit play straight away. You want me to hit play straight away?
Yep, let's just start it now.
Cool. Let's take a watch.
Could be one tower.
Okay. I like the spray transfer. Okay, you controlled the spray transfer and recoil quite well. Am I okay to watch it again? I'm gonna watch each clip twice if that's all right.
Could be one tower.
Your crosshair placement is okay. I think it could be. It could be better. Definitely could be better. So far, I'm getting diamond vibes at the moment. Could be higher though. That's all. I can't judge it off one clip. I'm gonna pull up the Haven clip next on a site where you're gonna plant the spike. So I'm gonna just start that up and watch it straight away. 15-15. Okay. Oh, okay. I mean, the fact that you've reacted like that means you don't do that often. So, I'm watching one more time. You've got a really small crosshair here, so I'm trying to look at crosshair placement.
Oh yeah, it's a doubt.
Okay, yeah, I'm still going like maybe high diamond vibes, maybe.
Okay.
I'm now gonna move on to the last clip. I think this is from the same game.
It is. It was a very long game, so I got a good few clips.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay, so I've just seen you get the 3rd kill. Your crosshair placement in this clip is pretty decent. Nice pre-ult, jiggled the spike. Okay. Oh, yeah. I would say your awareness is really good. I wouldn't say really good. I would say your awareness is better than the average player in terms of you pre-ult, you killed every. I mean, I'm watching this last clip one more time just to see what I think. You pre-ult because you know they're both there, or at least I think you pre-ult because you know they're both there. Yeah, I'm gonna go because I don't know if these are like life games of yours or not. And the state of ranked at the moment is really crazy. I'm gonna go like Diamond 2, I think, in and around that. If you was like Ascendant 1, I wouldn't be surprised. Like if you was Ascendant, but I think this is more. I'm thinking about the players that you're playing against as well. I would say Diamond. I would say like low to mid Diamond.
Yeah. So that's the final verdict.
I'm gonna go Diamond 2 as my final verdict.
I am Ascendant 1.
Okay. See, I can see that. I can see by your game knowledge and your overall crosshair placement that you're on the upper stages of Diamond. It's just the reason why I bring it down to like Diamond 2 was purely based off the players that you were playing against.
Oh yeah.
They didn't look like they really knew what was happening.
But
no, that's good. That's good, man.
Fracture. I'm not gonna.
The 3K.
I
The 3K spray.
Yeah.
I wish my Phantom did that. My recoil is crazy. But no, yeah, I can see why. I can see that as an Ascendant. I think that's a fair assessment, and I think that rank is about right. I would say.
I'll take that. You know, tips for me to work on. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then just to finish us off, you've already touched on some of the tips that you mentioned, such as like kind of being realistic, in your kind of expectations, as well as staying open to type of casting. But is there any other sort of tips that you would give for people who are trying to get into casting or trying to improve their casting?
Don't be afraid of constructive criticism. One thing I struggled really early on was thinking that I was a better caster than everybody else. And when you get to the stage that you've got good names on your CV, you can sort of warrant that ego. But I would say try and always listen to feedback. Like people that are going to be better casters than you, and if you can learn from them, then do it. Always get feedback after your casts from the broadcast producers and the broadcast team and production team that you work with, because they know why they would either hire you again or why they wouldn't hire you again, and you can learn from that. But yeah, be realistic. There's too many people that get into this industry now that think you can make quick money off of esports. That's not the case. I told you, the first 12 to 18 months of my career, I volunteered, I did free work, build the CV up. If it's working for smaller tournaments that maybe having 10, 15 people, view. The first Valorant event I did had 11 viewers, and it was for a small independent North American organization. And 6 months later, I was hosting VCT EMEA playoffs. So the growth is there, but you just got to work hard at it. Be realistic with what your goals are, but back yourself and be confident to believe what you can achieve. If you think you can become a professional caster, then do it. And networking is huge. Esports has this ongoing saying, and it's going to come back to bite me when I don't get hired for the rest of my career now after saying this, is it's almost not always what you know, but it's about who you know, because if you put yourself in the right place at the right time, and when I say that, I don't mean people hire their friends in esports, that's not always the case, but if you're seen by a producer, maybe it's at an esports networking event or in a Discord chat, for example, and they get to know you and they catch your personality, they might invite you to a broadcast because they think you can get value out of you. So yeah, I would say they're my main pieces of advice: networking, being confident, but being realistic at the same time, and don't be annoyed if you get told that either you're not good enough or you need to improve on something, because that will happen. It still happens to me now, and I've been doing it for 8 years. I always get constructive criticism, and people say, "Hey, John, we've worked with you 10 times, but this was the worst time we've worked with you all because you just didn't feel like you were in the mood and you just didn't seem switched on." And I'll say, "Cool, I completely understand that, and I fix it for next time." So yeah, just most of all, the biggest piece of advice I would say is have fun and enjoy what you do, because if you enjoy what you do and you enjoy your job, you never work a day in your life. So that's my biggest piece of advice: is make sure you're having fun, and when the love for it goes, let go of it, because you will only changing the words, you'll only dampen and sort of destroy the previous love for the esports and games industry that you had before.
Okay. That is all we have time for today, folks. So I want to thank our guests one more time. Shout out to John for agreeing to sit down and talk with us. It's
No problem.
That's very, very appreciated from all of us. And do you have anything you want to shout out?
A shout out to you guys for bringing light to esports, man. Like, you know, we're serious in this community, in this industry, and thank you for having me on. Appreciate anyone who's watching this that might recognize me, and if anyone wants any advice, drop me a DM. My DMs are open on Twitter. I'm always free to give out advice to people. Unless 500 of you start flooding my DMs, I might have to charge and start a Fiverr account. But yeah, other than that, no, thank you. Appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah. So we'll put all of John's links in the description of the video. And thank you everyone who got tickets, watching along. There is still time. We're throwing a £20 Valorant point giveaway. If you want to join, go over to our Twitter. It's at Deca Agency. It's DEKAGENCY. It'll be the pinned tweet. Will show you how to enter, and the results will be posted in a couple of days. And that's all.